Hello everyone, once again, my name is Yasemin Hakyemez, and today I'm going to be talking about gender differences in languages, and also I will share the results of my analysis of personal and daily newspaper blogs. I believe it is, first of all right to say that everyone here has heard the word language and its meaning before. So we're all aware that language has a significant role in our lives. Either written or spoken, it helps us express our feelings, to bring different cultures together, share information, and so on. But what may surprise you here in this presentation is that women and men are known to use language differently. Both genders use a different amount of specific language features while expressing their thoughts and feelings. In other words, the language used by women is different from the language used by men. The relation between language and gender has become one of the interests of sociolinguistics in recent years. And in this presentation, I will share the results of my analysis that I have made to find out the common differences between women's and men's written language. My thesis statement: the distinction in the use of language between women and men occurs in personal and daily newspaper blogs. The findings show that the differences are notable between both genders in the frequencies of 6 language features, which are intensifiers, hedges, empty adjectives, modal verbs, personal pronouns, and questions. Right, I will start to share my results by first of all giving a brief introduction. After that, I will introduce the literature review, including the theories of language and gender differences in language use. At the center of my presentation lies my research methodology and results. Right, so the very first famous study that I would like to introduce you is Robin Lakoff's book, which is called Language and Women's Place. In her study, Lakoff tried to look at how men and women use language differently, and also why do they use it differently. Let's have a look at how both genders use language differently from Lakoff's perspective. First of all, she claims that women use more intensifiers, hedges, empty adjectives, more pronouns, especially the second person you, and also they seem to ask more questions than men. There are also some things that she claims men seem to do more than women. For example, men use more articles, more personal pronouns, especially first person I, and they use more numbers. Although some of her claims are a bit disputed today, there are still many studies that could confirm Lakoff's claims. Right, Mulak et al., for instance, found that questions are more common in women's speech. According to another research, women use more modal verbs. Men tend to use more articles. And lastly, Wenjin claims that women use more empty adjectives. Now that we are a bit familiar with differences in the language use of women and men, we may ask, okay, but why do they have these differences then? At this point, Lakoff's study shows up again, and she claims that male talk seems to be more about competition, whereas female talk is more about cooperation. The idea here is that starting in early childhood, men and women are brought up differently according to different values, and these differences are reflected in their language. So this is also the explanation of why women use more hedges, question tags. It is simply because of the need to join the discourse or an invitation to cooperate. The reason why women are brought up to be more cooperative is that, first of all, they are, of course, caregivers and they look after children. Also, using a more collaborative style shows that they want to compromise rather than make conflict. Right, my analysis aimed to examine the differences in language use between male and female bloggers. For this reason, 50 blogs about travel, fashion, and health were chosen from personal and daily newspaper blogs, And in total, there were about 51,836 words. And a word counting tool was used to count the frequency of words that are considered as the main noticeable differences between both genders. 6 categories of language features were examined, namely intensifiers, hedges, empty adjectives, modal verbs, personal pronouns, and questions. Results from each category will be presented separately to give a better explanation. Right, so the first bar graph shows us a result of the intensifiers. And in order to visualize my results, I created a simple bar graphs for each language feature. On the horizontal axis, you will see the most common words from each category. The vertical axis simply shows the frequency of the words. And on this graph, we see the results of intensifiers, as I said. And first of all, maybe it would be good to give a bit of information about intensifiers. They are used to give stronger feeling to the adjectives. In this study, I have looked at 6 intensifiers, namely so, really, very, completely, enough, and absolutely. Let's have a look at the first bar graph on the left. First of all, the green bars represent male bloggers, and the purple ones represent female bloggers. As we can see, the purple bars are higher than the green ones, which means intensifiers are commonly used in women's language, especially so, really, and completely. The second bar graph on the right also gives us a general result of the use of intensifiers, and this result supports Lakoff's theory. Right, the next one, second category, is the use of hedges. And hedges are used to express uncertainty and also to soften the utterances of the speaker. 6 lexical hedges were examined, and as we can see, there were a bit, probably, perhaps, kind of, I thought, and I think. However, if we look carefully at the bar graphs, the green bars are higher this time, which means male bloggers have used hedges more than female bloggers. Especially the use of a bit, probably, and perhaps is very common in male language. And this result does not confirm Lakoff's theory. The next one is empty adjectives, and they are used to express the writer's or speaker's emotional reaction. And here, again, 6 most commonly used adjectives were chosen, namely beautiful, lovely, nice, gorgeous, charming, and marvelous. Let's remember that previous studies claim that women's language include more empty adjectives than men's language. However, here is a surprising result. As the green bars are higher in this graph, most of the empty adjectives were used by male bloggers. That is to say, the result, again, does not support previous studies. The fourth category will be the use of modal verbs. We use modal verbs to add meaning to the main verb in a sentence by expressing possibility, ability, permission, or obligation. In this study, mainly 7 modal verbs were examined, and here is the result. The bar graphs show that modal verbs are highly used by female bloggers. As Lakoff also mentions that modal verbs are frequently used in female language, this result seems to support Lakoff's theory. Next to the last is the use of questions like what, how, do, does, when, and which. The bar graphs show us that female language includes more questions, especially what, when, do, and does. This result also confirms Lakoff's theory. Right, and the last one, personal pronouns, is the use of personal pronouns. If we remember the research results, it was claimed that male language includes the first person I more than female language. And the bar graphs show us that male bloggers use more personal pronouns, yes, and especially you, it, I, and we. But most importantly, as we can see, the first person singular I. And this result also supports Lakev's theory. On this table, we can also see the differences between word frequencies among male and female bloggers. In this analysis, the most notable differences between males and females' language are intensifiers, modal verbs, personal pronouns, and hedges. These four categories of the study seem to support previous research results and Lakev's theory that women use intensifiers, modal verbs, questions more than men. And also, men use first person I more than women. When it comes to empty adjectives, as we can also see on the table, the previous study results claim that they are usually used by women. However, the current analysis shows the direct opposite results. Also, when it comes to questions, women seem to ask more questions than men. But when we look at the frequency, it is hard to say that there's a huge difference between female and male bloggers when it comes to questions. To make it more clear, I have also added check marks on the categories that support Lakev's claims, as we can see, and also I have added crosses on the ones that do not confirm previous studies. Right. As a conclusion, in this presentation, I have discussed gender differences in language use and shared the results of my analysis. The research study shows that male and female languages have some differences and findings that mostly seem to support Lakev's theory and previous studies. Notable differences are seen in intensifiers, modal verbs, hedges, and personal pronouns. However, because this was a small-scale study, a more intensive analysis may be needed to reach more stronger results. Thank you very much for your attention. And these are my references. And also the links that I read my blogs, personal and daily newspaper blog. Thank you.